Guys, what is up? Jeff here for One Fish, Two Fish. Today we're going to do another one of our One Fish, Two Fish explains videos. And today it is a very simple video, and we are going to one of the most common questions we get from beginners on the saltwater side for certain coral is going to be coral placement. We sell X amount of pieces of coral every day. And every third person will ask, where does this go? Should it go high? Should it go low? Do I have to glue it? And the big and small to this video is, to be completely honest, about half of it is up to you. The gluing part, for sure, is up to you. If it is something you know you're going to leave, like Zoa gardens, a lot of people will glue them on because they want them to stay in a certain spot. I know there's a lot of spots for, I'm going to show you guys a couple of things here in our reefer where you can see, some different placement in, for different euphilia, where we have some down here, and then we have some sort of lower to the bed, and then we have some over to the side. But as you can see in the tank, it is in different spots, in different flow rates. Obviously, anything down in this area, the flow is going to be less than, say, up this area, because you're going to get a lot more of the two very large wave tower heads we have pushing this tank. But the big and small for coral placement, really it's a very simple trial and error. Everything has, for the most part, a spot where it likes to be. Certain coral wants to be higher up because they prefer higher light. Certain coral wants to be lower. All of this information, depending on the coral you're looking for, there are lots of good sites to actually be able to find where the placement is. But even on most of those sites, what you're going to find is a ballpark. Low to mid, mid to high. There are some that are just high. There are some that are just low. And then there are some that are very range. They'll do well in a lot of different scenarios. Zoas, for example. Most Zoas can handle a very wide variety in a tank, assuming they're brought into that at a respectable time. Anything you do that you change very quick, if you move your lighting, if you have a very low light that is putting out, say, 150 par, and then you move it up to something that is doing a 500 par overnight, you are going to piss everything off. Even if that thing can handle a very high par, you are going to anger the coral just by doing it too quick. Patience for saltwater is the biggest part of the game. Most things you are going to do, your coral will be able to handle as long as you do them properly. We always get asked too what our levels are, what our calcium is, what our magnesium is, what our alkalinity is. Even for those, there is a range where most stuff is happy. Now it does vary for different coral, but there is a decent range where most stuff will survive and be okay. But even if your levels are a little bit off to that, if it is brought to them slowly, your corals will react to it fine. Again, to a certain level. If your alkalinity, I know people that keep their alkalinity at 12. I think that's crazy. I think it's way too high. Their tanks look gorgeous. So, we don't comment on it. If whatever you're doing is working for you, for the long term, if you've been doing it, if you've been keeping your alkalinity high, we keep ours around the 9, around the 9 area. It works for us. Most of our tanks are just cell tanks. We do have a little bit of stuff off-site that we do grow out, that we do kind of play with the levels a little bit more. But for the most part, we keep our alkalinity right around 9. But like I said, I know guys that say 12. 12 is where it's at. 12 is what makes stuff grow. And then we have a couple of different corals that we just have better luck. One Zoa in particular, the GMK, the Grandmaster Crack Zoa. Very nice Zoa. It's become a lot more common than it once was. But for the longest time, we had our alk between like 8.5 and 9, and just we weren't seeing, it was surviving, but we weren't seeing any really growth out of it. It actually went into the tank where the guy had his alkalinity quite a bit higher, and it just went crazy. It literally went crazy. It went from like 3 heads to like 30 heads in a really short period of time. Over like a couple months, it just blew up. So in that particular instance, it really liked the higher alkalinity, it seemed. So for coral placement, the biggest part of it is follow the recommended. If it says lower, obviously start lower. And then if you want to move stuff up, what we will always do with our reefer tank, almost everything we put in this tank, except stuff that we know can handle higher light, will start down in this area. We've actually moved a couple pieces. You can see this scolie has got a lot of the flesh receding on the sides. So we moved this over here. This tank does really well. This piece was dropped behind one of our coral racks, was almost dead. Was thrown in here just to see what it was. It has turned out beautiful, very, very nice colors. You can see that this tank has had a lot of stuff added. But like I said, for the purpose of this video, this rock is what we will use to start most things off. We've actually migrated a little bit over to this rock as well. So more often than not, anything that we're putting in goes to this rock. Goes here, it gets a couple of days if it is doing really well. That is a wall hammer that, again, where it was not doing super well. We brought it over here. Literally inside of 24 hours, it's already started to look double what it was where it was. So just moving stuff around would be the biggest piece of advice I would give you. Don't do it every 3 minutes, obviously, but if you're trying something and it's not looking good, this tank is not a good explanation for that, because I'll be honest, everything looks really nice in this tank. But if you have something, start on the lower end of your tank, put it, see how it does, give it a handful of days. If you find after a handful of days it is not doing well, it's not opening up like you know it should, or it doesn't look like it did in the store, first thing, always remember, wherever you're buying the stuff, you can ask a simple question. What is the par that they're getting in the store? Most of your local fish stores likely have some type of par meter. I know a lot of them. We have a very nice par meter here. We actually rent it out because we get asked a lot what our par is, and people always say, oh, I wish I could tell what mine. So we have a very nice par meter that we rent to our customers for a day. They bring it back, they can check their whole tank, see where it's at. So just remember, wherever you're buying it from, if you can replicate that, if it looks good where it is, it's going to likely look good where you put it. So that would be the biggest piece of advice I would give you. Try to replicate at least where it is. Try to keep it as close to that as possible. And then whenever you are going to, if you do have, obviously in your reef tank, you've got certain spots. A lot of tanks, whenever they get populated fairly quick, so you start running out of space and you only have a couple certain spots left. Sometimes you find a piece of coral that you like that is a bottom piece, but you've only got a high piece left. So, I mean, in that spot, obviously, probably you just lay off that coral. But if you want to try different things, just make sure you go very slow. If it's on the bottom, move it up to a rock. Give it a week there. See how it does. If it reacts fine, maybe you can move it up a little bit higher. As long as you're doing stuff slow, 9 times out of 10, the coral will tell you, if you're pissing it off, stop doing this to us. Then you move it back down, and more often than not, it will come right back around for you. We have seen coral ridiculously beat up. It is shocking how well these things, if given the chance, if put in a proper tank. We use our reefer, for example. It is just a very baby tank. It has all the best equipment you can put on it. Everything's monitors, everything's automatically dosed. It's tested all the time. It's, like I said, very, very well looked after. So anytime we have a problem piece in our system, we put it in there. Usually within a couple days, you will see a change, and then usually within about a 2-week period, we can spin stuff right back around. So, so that is what I would always just say, guys. Anything you're trying, trial and error, and just move very, very slow. That is going to give you your best chance for success. Anyway, guys, I hope some of that information helped. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.